Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Good
evening,
evening,
sir.
sir.
Good evening, sir.
Uh,
Good evening, sir.
yes, good evening to you.
Good evening,
Come
sir.
on. Yeah, good. Uh, I don't see any one of you. What's the problem?
Good evening, sir.
Can we just have 1 second that you put on all your cameras? At least let me see. Okay, Dinesh, Anthony, Soundararaja, there are quite a lot. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes. Winston Mirando, is it? I know any one of you? I don't think any of you guys. Anthony.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, everybody. So nice to see you. Quite a lot of people, huh? 147. Wow.
Good evening, sir.
Okay. So without taking much time, because I got quite a lot of things to share with you. Let me lay the rules of the game. That is, this should be a very highly interactive session. Usually, I hate doing this online. What to do, right? The ISL has still not started doing on-site lectures, and also perhaps you like it because today is a working day, so you can. So before I start anything, yeah, please keep all your mics muted, and there'll be a couple of occasions I'll be asking all of you to put your mics unmute, right? So there'll be a couple of occasions during my lecture. I'll ask everyone to unmute their mics. So only at that time, please unmute your mics, and until that time, please keep your mics muted. I still see some people not muted. Perhaps Chamara, you can ask them to mute it, or you can do something about it. But when I ask them to unmute, they should be able to unmute as well. Right. So once again, good evening to everybody. But so until just as a kind of an icebreaker, let's watch this video for a moment. Everybody, come on. Yeah, I don't hear that. Everybody, unmute your mic. Come on, come on. All right. Now that was to just put you in the mood. Just to put you in the mood after a very long day. Maybe you have gone to work, and I don't know how you came back. It's raining. Like just to put you in the mood, in the sense. Please, somebody is keeping the mics unmuted. So please give you 100% attention to this presentation, and just to break the ice, okay? And that is to put everyone in the proper mood, which means this is a completely interactive session. If you don't agree with whatever I say, you are absolutely free to stop me and say, Mr. Fernando, I don't agree with you. It's perfectly all right. That is how the should be. So maybe I hate doing this kind of lectures online. I enjoy doing this face to face, and I pull up people. I ask people to come to the stage and share certain things with me. All that I cannot do. So let's try to do our best online, right? And I do a lot of lecturing and university lecturers, all university lectures, and I get them to speak somehow. So I want you to speak. When the time comes, I'll ask you to unmute, and then you have to speak and do various things, right? You hear. Okay, let's get a bit serious, right? Now, before I start anything, I want to share with you some of my very favorite videos. Say what 3 or 4 videos, some quotes and anecdotes, right? And my first quote is from a book gifted to me by an author. His name was Arup Roy Chowdhury, the CEO of National Thermal Power Corporation of India. He has a record that when he was 33 years old, he was put into a huge public corporation in India where they had 300,000 employees. 300,000 employees, 33 years old, chief executive officer. So whatever he says, I'm sure we had to accept, right? So when I met him, he was about at least 58 years old. He's a good friend of mine as well, because when I was the general manager of Electricity Board, and I used to meet with him on various seminars, conferences, and also I had several meetings with him face to face. So my last visit was somewhere in 2014, and he gifted to me his book that he had written, and he had written it in 2013, so it was very new. And I think one of the first few copies he gave it to me. The book is titled Management by Idiots. Management by Idiots. It's a very interesting book, very small book. If you can lay your hands upon it, please get a copy and read it. Right? So I'm going to take the first quotation from there. The first quotation is, if you don't blow your own trumpet, others will make it a spittoon. Make use of it. Use it as a spittoon. Others will use it as a spittoon. Spittoon in Sinhala is padikkama. I think Tamil is padikkama. Right? Padikkam or padikkama. And we know, I think padikkama is not at all seen very often in our houses now. Small, of course, all of us had padikkams in our homes, because we had our grandparents, and they used to spit on that, and we used to go and sometimes clean it for them. But nowadays, you see them when you have Piritge or something, you pass it around when the Buddhist monks are chanting Pirit the whole night. They set it around and they spit it into the spittoon. So what it says is, if you do not blow your own trumpet, you saw the trumpet in that corner in that video, the huge trumpet, right? The thing is, if you don't blow your own trumpet, others will use it as a spittoon. I don't need to say anything. This cartoon will tell the story. I'm sure you see the picture, right? Now, there are two opinions to this statement. Now, when people start talking, bragging about themselves, talking big about themselves, and boasting about themselves, we don't like it, right? We don't like it. Oh, he's blowing his own trumpet, we say. Right? Nayadano. Nayadano. That's very, very pambu. Very common thing, right? We don't like people talking so much about themselves. But there are times that as engineers, especially, if you don't blow your own trumpet, my dear friends, see what happens. Others will make it a spittoon. You like your trumpet to be made like a spittoon? I don't think anyone likes it. Now, this doesn't mean to say that you have to put your mouth in every place that possibly can. You have to speak up when the need arises. Especially, I've heard many people talking about engineers, and they say that, the engineers are very quiet, they don't speak up. What's wrong with you guys? I had a very, very bad experience. When I was the GM Ceylon Electricity Board, I had to interview engineers, students to be engineers, just passed out engineers, to be recruited as CB engineers. And there was this very young boy, first class, batch top in one of the best universities in the country, right? Engineering faculty. And incidentally, he was very popular also in that batch. And there was a problem when I spoke to him. He was a very sweet, nice boy. And he came for the interview. He had a very pleasant smile, extremely pleasant smile. So when I asked him, certainly, yes, sir. You had something? No, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Monosyllables. Hours, sir. This, that, when you go for an interview, come on. You have to express yourself. So finally, I thought he was having a bit of a sabakole or something, but I can't even imagine, because he has been the team leader of the debating team in his own school. So I knew that he could speak. And I thought he might have a problem with the language. I don't think so. Yes, little things that he said, he was quite good in English as well. So I put her to sing her. And I said, Puta, why we nipa? Kata karan. Matawa gandoni. හැබැයි ඔය කතා කරේ නැත්නම් මට ඔයා ගන්න බෑ. I cannot take you if you don't talk. Very nice smile. Very sweet smile. My dear friends, even if I want, I couldn't take you. Even if I want, I couldn't take you. So these are serious mistakes some of our engineers do. When the need arises, they don't talk. When it is not necessary, they put their mouth in the wrong place. Okay, I hope you got what I'm trying to say. If you have any questions, you can ask. Yeah. Now there's a small story. I happened to go to Washington during my one of my official visits, and there was a very famous ambassador of Sri Lanka in Washington, DC, and he invited us for a dinner. And he happened to be, is absolutely true, right? But the first part is true, and the latter part is absolute nonsense. So he had is a very popular ambassador of Sri Lanka in New York. Sorry, it was in Washington DC. And we were invited to his house for dinner one day, and he had in his sitting room a big picture with him and Bill Clinton playing the trumpet together, because they have been campus mates, university mates in the US. They have been together, and they were both trumpet players. And after dinner, we get into light banter. So after a couple of drinks, we were having hearty chats, and he told us this story. I think absolute nonsense, but let me tell that. So he said, as ambassador, you are invited to the White House for parties. So that one day, this Bill Clinton had invited him and him for a party. And on that particular day, one of our ministers from Sri Lanka had gone on a visit to Washington DC. So he had also been invited. And we dress in our national suit. So the minister was dressed in his national suit attire, and they went for the party. It was in the garden, open air party, and there was a lot of drinks flowing around. And Bill Clinton had started playing the trumpet. And after the trumpet is played, there's a beautiful stand on which you keep the trumpet, and the trumpet is kept like this, face upwards. It's on I have seen that a trumpet stand. It's made out of wooden, beautiful carved. So this, after a couple of drinks, our minister had wanted to relieve himself of the small job. I'm sure the boys know what I'm talking about. Girls may not know. Please, girls, please excuse me. So he had been looking around for a, all that time, convenient store, whatever you like to call it, right? Going around to see where he can do his small job. He saw this thing nicely placed in a corner. He went there. You know what I did? What he did? I don't know. I can't tell you because there may be girls and they may not like me to say that. Lifted the sarong and did what he wanted to do. And he was having a hearty laugh. So don't not only allow anyone to make your trumpet a spittoon, don't even allow them to make it a urinal. Dispose off. So engineers, I'm going to talk about that later on. Okay, today's I think my topic was, the first time I'm doing this, engineering profession. I should do the first lecture with the introduction to the B paper. I'm not doing that. So I'll be talking about engineering profession. Now, in the very old Hindu scriptures, they're called Vedic scriptures. Now I did some research. They say the Hindu religion is the oldest known religion in the world. Sometimes they have now found certain scriptures dating back to 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, right? So this particular Hindu scriptures have a record of about 4,000 years. Right? They were written on stone or ola leaves or whatever. They have found these things. They're called Veda scriptures, right? Various sayings. This is called the Rig Veda, right? You see three roads to Manghanti. It goes like this. When there's harmony between the mind, where is your mind? I don't know. What is the mind? The head. Somewhere near the brain, maybe. I don't know. If there's harmony between the mind, heart, feelings, thinking, feelings, and resolution, your character. You resolve to do something. I'm going to hit that fellow. Don't hit. Come on. That's a bad resolution. Mind, heart, and resolution. Resolve. Then nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Do you all believe this? Anyone? You all believe this? Come on. Please unmute your mics and speak, right? You all believe this?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I'm happy that you believe this. Let's see. I do believe in this. Nothing is impossible. Absolute nothing is impossible. I do believe in this. Right? Watch these two videos once again. I told you that so many videos I'm going to make. It's going to be an enjoyable lecture. Okay, so please feel free to enjoy yourself. Are you guys stunned? Are you guys stunned? Then watch this. I wanted to guess who this fellow is. Any guesses who that fellow is? That fellow was.
It is you.
You think so? You think so? Thank you. Yes, I was 63 years old when I did that. That's 3 years ago. You can guess my age. That's only one stunt. I did many stunts also, right? Coming down the sling from about 100 feet high and these 80 feet. So nothing is impossible, my dear friends. Nothing is impossible for engineers, especially. First lesson today. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's also watch this video. A lot of videos, this may be the last one. Listen to the words very carefully. Wow, what a leader, right? You have that iron in you. You have that iron in you. Speak up, right?
Yes.
Don't feel shy. I'm happy at least few people say they have the iron in them, right? Good. I'm sure most of you may have watched this video before. It shows the character of Lee Kuan Yew, the Iron Man of Singapore. Now, Singapore was thrown out of the Malayan Kingdom Federation in 1965, way after we got the independence. We got it in 1948. They got the independence from Malayan Kingdom Federation in 1965. In his own words, the Singapore was a swamp. Mada Wagura. Right? I had some pictures of Singapore. I had no time to show that to you. Just a kind of village kind of setting. And there was a small, like a fishing harbor. Not more than that. That was all Singapore. And all of a sudden, one fine day, the Malayan kingdom thought Singapore was a burden to them. So they kicked them out of their federation. They kicked them out virtually. Gave them 24 hours. And Singapore was full of gangsters. He said he had few millions of people to account for. What can we learn from this man? Remember, this is the person who is supposed to have said in 1965, I'll make Singapore like Ceylon. We were known as Ceylon at that time. So he wanted to make Singapore like Sri Lanka. Come on. Now, almost how many years? 45 years, or not 45, I mean, almost 55 years later, we want to be like Singapore. We dream that we can be like Singapore. 55 or 60 years ago, they said they want to be like us. 55 years ago. I would say he was a man of immense courage. He never looked back on his vision. He was very firm of his conviction. He stayed focused. He stayed away from all those who did not fall in line with the commitment to rebuild the nation. Of course, there are certain bad stories about him as well. You know that that there has been a story that one deputy minister went out of the country, and one of his very close allies, and later on, the day he found out he has gone from the country on a holiday with a business colleague. When he returned, he was arrested and put behind bars. Tough guy, because he stayed away from those who did not fall in line with the commitment to rebuild the nation. Sometimes you do that. I think in Buddhist literature it says that you should not associate with people who have less capability, not less capability. I mean, who are having a very low kind of mind. Actually, I'm not a Buddhist, so please pardon me. I forget that Pali stanza. If anybody can remember the stanza, tell me. I'll be very happy to note that, because I know that there was some Buddhist saying that you should not associate with people who don't think in the same lines. Right? Centuries ago, millennia ago, they have said that. Did not serve everyone with the same spoon. He did not do that. That's also a saying. But අපි මොනවද කියන්නේ? මම හැමෝටම බෙදන්නේ එකම හැන්දේ. බෙදලා බලමු අපි ආ. බෙදලා බලමු අපි. හැමෝටම එකම හැන්දේ. Let's try to treat everyone with the same spoon and let's see what's going to happen. Remember, my dear friends, there's a saying: if you try to please everyone, you will end up pleasing no one. I'm speaking to you as an engineering profession, and as a professional engineer, you must have your own character. You must have your own guts. You must have your own personality. Someone is coming. So I think, I don't know who is AIM 2235. Who is AIM 2235? Please speak up. Who is
Yeah,
AIM
myself, sir. I didn't want to disturb you. I think you
No, no, it's
mentioned
okay. Yeah. What is your
Asevanacha
name?
Balana.
What is your
I'm
name?
Ishani. I'm Ishani.
Ishani. Where are you working, Ishani?
I'm currently working at Kotala Defense University.
Wow, there you are. Fantastic. You're a teacher, is it?
Yeah, senior lecturer in civil engineering, product of
Oh.
University of Motor Tour.
Okay. You are talking of Asevanacha Balana. I'll please send me a text, and I'll put my email and text here. I want to put these things in my I'll put my, anybody can talk to me anytime. I will not be able to answer all the time, but if you have any burning questions, you can send me a WhatsApp message, and I'll send you the shavindra@.com. So if you have any queries, please send me, and if you have anything to contribute to my presentation, please do. Ishani, please send it to me by email so that I'll paste it here. That's the one I was looking for. What will happen if you treat everyone with the equal measure? Yeah, often hear people say that. But I had put this down in Tamil as well, but I don't have that particular slide with me. I'm using this in the university. I'm teaching at various places. බෙදලා බලමුද? 3 jars. එකම හැන්ද, 1 spoon. See what happens. Do I need to say anything more? If this is your capacity, if you are treated with this spoon, you cannot accept it. It's too much for you. I'm sure you are getting work done out of people. If you give them work more than they can handle, they just rupture, they'll just crumble. For this guy, was just right the amount of work that you are given them. And this fellow has so much of ability to give some more. Get all what I'm trying to say, get the best out of people. Don't overburden them, don't keep them relaxed, just give them adequate amount of work. There's a lot to learn from people of the caliber of Lee Kuan Yew. I think this is my last quote, one of my very, very favorite quotes. This is the springboard for my next couple of slides. I'm thankful to all those who said no to me. It's because of them. I'm doing it myself. I'm thankful for all those who said no to me. It's because of them. I'm doing it myself. Please take it and absorb it. Never take no for an answer. Be very firmly convinced that you can do it. That's, by the way, is Albert Einstein. I'm a firm believer of this statement. How many of you have heard of a project called Upper Kothmale Hydropower Project? Anyone? Are there any people who have heard about this Upper Kothmale Hydropower Project? Anyone? Anyone? At least put your hands up. Come on.
Sir.
How many of you?
Yes, sir.
Anybody who has known, can you please speak up and say two parts? Only two people have known about this. So can one of those two people raise Munusinghe, raise the hand? Can you please tell where this project is all about? What is this project? Are you from CEB? By the way, Munusinghe?
No, so I am from Sri Lanka, private sector.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard that project. I think 2 years back it was started and completed.
Completed. Was it
Yeah.
an easy project to do?
No, it's so difficult project, and I think there is so many issues with, with society and all.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a 150 megawatt project. The cost was approximately 40 billion rupees at that time. Now it's about 80 billion rupees in today's currency. It was started in 1992, the studies. It was stalled due to protests on environmental, social, and political grounds. Incidentally, I did the studies in 1992. And from 1992 till 2002, I was fighting a battle on political fronts, on social fronts, with the environmentalists, court cases, you name it, I had it. I was at the forefront. Finally, we got the money in 2002 to do the project, and we commenced the project in 2006 because after we got the money in 2002, hell broke loose. I'm sure some of you may recall those things. Many protests. There are 2 attempts on my life as well. The house that I used to go and stay there was set on fire. Of course, they knew that I wasn't there, fortunately. And one day, someone really came with a crowbar to hit me. Right? I still survived. Finally, the project commenced in 2006 and completed 2012. I know time to show. I have a video. I don't want to show you. Maybe if there's time in the end, I'll show that to you. Why did I do Upper Kothmale Hydropower project? And how did I do it? I'm just an engineer, normal engineer, just like you and I. Right? I'm no better than either of you. But how did I do it? How did I do it? My guiding light was a quotation from the Bible. I told you I'm a Christian. If you know what is right to do and don't do it, not doing it, it's a sin. I think even in Buddhism, I have heard that there's a similar stanza held by Lord Buddha. If anyone of you know, please send it to me. If you know what is right to do, maybe the Dhammapada, and not doing, it is the same. හොඳ දේවල් කරලා විතරක් පින් ලබා ගන්න බෑ දරුවනේ. හොඳ දේවල් විතරක් කරාට හරියන්නේ නැහැ. Great job, sir. Who is Samantha? I don't know who Samantha is. Can Samantha speak up, please? Are you from CV? Right? If you know what is right to do and not doing, it is the same. I knew doing Upper Kotpally Hydropower project was the right thing to do. And I did not want to be a sinner. So I did it. Everyone said that I can't do it. In fact, the Japanese, it came from Japan. In 1995, we got the funds committed. And there was a Sri Lankan JICA official called Mr. Ida. He was a disappointed man because the government of Sri Lanka had to say, we don't want your money. We could not get the project going. We were just about to start off, but we could not get it going. They went back. And later on in 2002, when we got the money, he came again to facilitate the loan. And he told me, and he told publicly, we never thought this project will ever come through. We never thought this project will ever come through. When I went from Sri Lanka, I never thought I'll be able to come back to Sri Lanka to give money for this project. It was so bad. It was so bad. Right? Not only that. So I did not withstand any obstacle, any impediment. No one believed that I will do it with so much opposition. Some even wished, even from my own organization, that I will fail. I thank them all for being an obstruction to me. It is because of them I did it. Because of them I did it. How did I do it? I'm trying to share a secret with you. It is because everyone said I will not do it. I did it. If anyone is going to stand in your way, that is the time you must stand up and do the job. That's the time you must stand up and do the job. There's no one else to do it. It's you who can do it. I stayed focused. I told all my junior engineers, stay focused. And there were many times that the radio, it was announced, or TV, they were announced, the Upper Kotpally Hydropower project is cancelled. So there were about 14 engineers with me at that time. And every day in the morning, they come to me and say, boss, what's going to happen to us? Is the project cancelled? I said, no. Who said so? The radio said so. I said, just forget the radio. Don't listen to that. Let's do it. Stay focused. Don't listen to the noise. Anybody can say anything. I'm saying we are going to do it. I stayed focused. And we were not swayed by the noise around. Don't get swayed by the noise around. There were many decisions of the cabinet. Today they say do it. It's honor today. For the 7 months, I just heard from the Minister of Agriculture, after 7 months and 2 days, they had to take a step back and allow the fertilizer to be imported. It's not just on the news today. So just like that, cabinet decisions were plenty. Some cabinet decisions said, okay, go ahead, approve the project approved. After a few months, some cabinet minister raises an objection, they cancel the project. Again, after some months, the cabinet approves the project. Again, after some weeks, the cabinet stops the project. Can I tell you a secret? Another secret. The last decision of the cabinet to date stands to rescind all previous decisions to do the project, which means the project is concerned. The project, that decision came to me from the secretary, from the cabinet secretary to our secretary, our secretary to our chairman to our general manager to me. I filed that decision. I went ahead with the project. I filed the decision to say the project is the approvals are rescinded. Still in my file. The project is up and running. The project is up and running. I ignored it. I'm still surviving because I had faith in God. I knew if I do something right, nothing can befall on me. The person who wrote the cabinet decision was my greatest supporter later. The person who wrote the cabinet decision was my greatest supporter later. The person who wrote and said that don't do the project was my greatest supporter later. I'll not take names. I thank my Apokotpally hydropower staff who only had faith in me. Now I turn to engineering. What is engineering? Who is an engineer? What do you expect to do as an engineer? You may have various, most of you at least 4 years, 5 years, 6 years down the road as engineers. That's why you come here to do the professional review. That's why you're trying to sit for the B paper. Some of you may be just 1 year after the graduation, some of you may be 5 years. And I have some people who have taken part in these lectures. Some will have been about 20 years after graduation. I know the secret. Let me come to the secret class. Are you prepared to face the challenges of engineering education? You have already done that. Finished. Gain experience. That's what you have done that. And become a fully qualified professional. That's what you are trying to do today. You got your engineering education. You got your experience. You're going to sit for the B paper. And perhaps after that, you would face the Viva. Professional review. I'm sure you are committed to becoming a fully qualified professional engineer. That's why you are here. Maybe some people have heard this story over and over again. I'll just relate this for the time being because I usually do this face to face and ask too many questions. Maybe I'll ask a question if anybody has an answer, please give. I can't be wasting time because today I'm running against the time. The time is already 1 hour gone. So please pardon me if I run about 5 or 10 minutes more than. Can you please mute your mic? Right? Right. So there was a man by the name Herbert Clark Hoover. Some of you may have heard this story before. I've been doing this over and over again in many places. Right? So this guy was a young American. And he was traveling from London to New York in a steamer. Those days, the ships are called steamers. And they took about 3 months to cross the Atlantic. They were run by coal steamships. It took 3 months to cross the Atlantic. So he was going from London to New York. And he was occupying, somebody's still bothering me with the noise. So switch off your mics. When you want, please unmute and speak up, right? So there was he was occupying a first class cabin, and there was another young lady occupying the first class cabin, another first class cabin. There are 4 classes: first class, second class, economy class, and the luggage hold. So there are people going on in the luggage hold as well. The poorest people, slaves perhaps. So after 3 months, so they would have been eating together, dancing together, playing cards together, having a lot of conversations together, enjoying their lives, drinking together. So they came, they sat for the last breakfast, and they saw the New York Harbor ahead. So they sat for the last breakfast on the deck, and they had to part goodbye. And this lady had a urge to ask a question from this young guy. These were medieval times. So she asked in the good old first class English, "I hope you will forgive my dreadful curiosity, but I should like to awfully to know what is the question she asked." Anybody? What is the question she asked? Come on, tell me. Anybody? Anybody? Please. What is the question she asked? Chat coming. Who are you? Someone says, who are you?
What is your profession?
What is your profession? He has heard this story before. What is your profession? She asked, what is your profession? You know what he said? He said, I'm an engineer. You know what happened? The lady's face fell. Her hinge hit the ground. And she was wearing a huge frock skirt, about 1 meter in diameter or 2 meters in diameter. The skirt also shrunk. And there's a story behind these huge skirts. You know, those days, the first class ladies used to wear these huge round skirts. You know why? So that no commoners can come and touch their fingers. Even if you want to shake hands, the best they could do is just touch the fingertips. Getting closer to give a kiss is impossible. Those were the days when the first class ladies had their seat. So he said, I'm an engineer. You know what? The lady was so disappointed. Her face went purple and black and green or whatever colors. She snapped and said, I thought you were a gentleman. I thought you were a gentleman. Come on. Engineer? Not a gentleman? Yes. Those days, engineers were not thought to be gentlemen. Why? The engineers were smelling. Nobody could get near the engineer. They're smelling of sweat. More than most of the time, they were wearing overalls. Machang all over the place. They had dirty hands, rough hands. They were very rough people, tough people. Often spoke in filth, and had very bad mannerisms. Therefore, not recognized in society. Even in Sri Lanka, we had engineers like that. When I joined CEB, we had a few engineers like that who used to wear shorts, stockings, brown shoes, pipe in one hand, bastam in the other hand. You know what the bastam was for? Anyone can tell me, you know what the bastam is, the walking stick? Because they couldn't walk. Do you know why they were carrying the bastam?
Harabitiya.
Haramidia. Why didn't they? Why did they use a haramidia?
To support is working.
Engineers can't walk, huh? Come on. Any other person?
To hit others.
Absolutely. Hit
Oh,
others.
demonstrate pride.
Demonstrate authority. Hit others. Chatta patta. If they walk in the workshop, if they see people not working, they chatas, chatas. And they should talk always in faith. I have heard them talking in faith. Right? අද කතා කරලා බලමුද කුණු හරපෙන් මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා වැඩවලට ගිහිල්ලා කතා කරලා බලන්නකෝ බකට්ටක් හම්බ වෙනවා right but now engineers are well recognized in society දුවෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් ඉංජිනේරු මහත්තයෙක් වෙන්න හරි ආසයි අපේ ඉංජිනේරු දුව කියන්නේ අපේ දෙමෝපිය හරි ආසයි මගේ දුව ඉංජිනේරෙක් නේ මගේ පුතා ඉංජිනේරුවෙක් තැනක් තියෙනවා there's a place in the society for us we have clean hands අපේ අතේ කරකට නැහැ we wear perfume a good mannerisms. I hope so. And the society look up to us. The society look up to the engineers. But the biggest question is, do we as engineers live up to their expectations of society? Let's wait and see. Do we live up to that standing? Incidentally, this Herbert Clark, who was the only president, only engineer who went on to become the president of USA. The Hoover Dam is built after his name. Let's get on to theoretical stuff. I'm supposed to talk about the engineering profession. So I have to do something, right? Theoretical. This is from the Wikipedia. An engineer is a professional practitioner of engineering concerned with applying scientific knowledge, mathematics, and ingenuity to develop solutions for technical problems. Engineers design materials, structures, machines, and systems while considering the limitations imposed by practicality, safety, and cost. We add the word even environment. The word engineer is derived from the Latin root ingenium, meaning cleverness. Are you guys clever? Are you guys clever? Are you guys clever? Come on.
Yes, sir.
Everyone unmute your mics. Everyone unmute your mics. Everyone.
Yes,
Yes, we want to be like them.
Yes, sir.
Yes, of course.
Hold it.
Yes.
Less noise. Silence. If you are clever, I want you to hit your back, pat your back. I want to hear that. Clever, you should be hitting. Ali Buru Karo. Okay, now mute your mic. Mute your mics. Thank you very much. Rizunada? Peter Rizunada? Like a Gauru Tidia Gahana, eh? No, I have it in the Gahan. Karvataskana. Right. If you are clever, guys, remember this, that you should act like a clever person. Act like a clever person. Right? Right. Now I want your mics being muted once again. You guys are clever. I'm telling you, you guys are clever. If you're not clever, you couldn't have passed the Sri Lankan A level in mathematics. You couldn't have done this engineering degree if you're not clever. Absolutely, I know that. I believe that all the engineers are clever people. You're the cream of the society. No, don't undermine yourself. Don't have any inferiority complex. You guys are very clever. You are clever. You must behave also like clever people. Engineers are grounded in applied sciences, not basic science, not pure sciences, applied sciences. And your research work and your work in research and development is distinct from the research focus of scientists. The work of, we do application research. Scientists do basic research. That's the difference. The focus of engineers forms the link between the scientific discoveries and the application that meet the needs of society. Now, I want one of you to tell me the weight of a 500 ml bottle of water, full of water. 500 milliliter bottle of water. What is the weight? Anybody? Anybody can give me an answer. Anybody?
It is around. It is around 500 grams.
Around 500 grams. Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Sure, I'm sure.
Anthony Soundaraj says 510 grams. I like that answer, perhaps. Anyway, if you ask a scientist what is the weight of a 500 milliliter bottle of water, you know the answer is going to be, what the answer is going to be? 508.543108692 3. Can you repeat that? Can you tell me what is the weight? Come on, you were not listening, you guys. What are we doing? Look at something else. Look at the ceiling. You don't listen to me, right? I'm just joking. Because for a scientist, somebody put it. Anthony Soundaraj, you tried to put me, but you failed. I like the guys who are responding, but I want it spoken. For the scientist, if you tell him to measure the weight of the bottle of water, basic science. They take a drop of water, analyze it, find the chemicals in there, find how many heavy metals are there, take the atomic number, multiply it by the atomic weight, sum it up, take a repeat of the plastic bottle, analyze it, how many hydrocarbons are there, take the hydrocarbon chain, map it, take the atomic weight, convert it to grams, add up everything. You come out with such a number. That is dead accurate. But for us, engineers, we only want 505, 506, 507, more than enough. You know why I'm saying that? You know why I'm saying that? I was working at a place, not CV. Later on, I was working in a research organization as chairman. A doctorate in engineering brought me one day a technical paper he has written. We were doing some research work on clay drying for tiles. I read that. I saw a table which gave, I mean, believe me, I mean, always say that I want to show that on screen. I've forgotten to do that. The moisture content of the clay, some value with 11 decimal places. 11 decimal places as a percentage. That is 13 decimal places. I hit the ceiling. This particular research paper has been accepted for publication. Come on. He brought it and gave it to me, saying that, see, sir, I got my research paper published in an engineering university in Sri Lanka. I told him, who wrote this paper? Who peer-reviewed your paper? Who gave you permission to publish this paper? He never thought that I will question him. I said, what is the purpose of putting 11 decimal places as a percentage to just to say the moisture content of clay? No, sir, that came from the computer. Come on. He's an idiot. The computer is an idiot. My dear friends, management by idiots. We don't want idiotic engineers as managers. We want clever, practical engineers in this country. I do a lot of teaching. I see these people, sometimes we have these characters and everything. They put 6 decimal places, 7 decimal places. In university, we were taught how to round off numbers. How to round off numbers is one of the things that we were taught in the university. Is that being taught you all now? Has the engineering gone down to such a low level? I don't think so. So, my dear friends, anybody here, please don't write numbers that have no meaning. The problem is this, my dear friends. When people read those documents, they'll have a very bad opinion about yourself. Don't let that happen to you. But you all are clever guys. Don't show your ignorance. Please. We want engineers to be held in very high esteem by every segment in the society. Probably you have seen these things. I will not go into too much of detail. The central focus of engineering, therefore, is application of scientific knowledge to meet the societal needs. And the engineering is this particular cross-section. Can anyone tell me what is the shape of this cross-section? Engineering with dots there. I'll just give you one or two I'll take one or two answers. What does it look like? What does it look like? Just about an hour to go. What does it look like? This shape. Come on. What is the shape? Please, I need some answers. Come on. I need some answers.
It's like a mouth.
Mouth, yes. Anybody else? What does it look like? Come on.
It's like
I-
a lens.
Why are you writing on chat, man? Paripuade, Nilmini.
Yes, really. Yeah.
Paripuade Kanna. Or Italy, right? Solunga, Italy, right?
Yeah, idli.
I love Italy.
Idli tamai.
Yanne lamaya, common man's food. So engineering is for common people, for common man. You are going to address the needs of common man, my dear friends. If you are thinking of rocket science, go to America and do rocket science. We have to meet the needs of the common man. If you are not prepared to meet the needs of the common man, society, at the moment, give up on engineering. Please give up engineering. Change your clothes, get into a robe, go to the forest, meditate. There are a couple of engineers whom I know. They have given up engineering and they are meditating in expectation of a improved. I'm not saying it's wrong. Everybody has that inclination of not serving the society. The best thing you can do is to get into roles. Otherwise, all the engineers, no matter what, you have to meet the needs of society. The central focus is meeting the needs of society. Your engine knowledge, your scientific knowledge is nothing if you're not committed to meet the needs of society. Also, don't worry. We are truly human beings. Come on, aren't you human beings? We have our own personal traits and likes and dislikes. We are very sensitive people. We have our own emotions. So we are also, some of us are highly analytical. Some of us are highly creative. So on the other hand, engineers may pursue creative efforts. You create things without involving sometimes analytical skills. And one may apply analytical skills without entering the domain of creativity. Say if you take running a finite element model on a computer, just a computer, I'm sure most of you are running on computer models these days. You need a lot of creativity, not so much. We are designing, let's say, an auditorium, and they say that there's going to be a huge column in front of the middle of the auditorium. Will you accept that? In the middle of the auditorium, there's a huge column. How do you come this? Then you come creativity. Your creativity has to be put into best use. So analysis, some of us are good in analysis, some of us are good in creativity. Excuse me. Occasionally I need a sip of water. Right. For example, as engineers apply commercial software to solutions of an engineering problem, the application of analytical skills per se may involve little or sometimes no creativity. On the other hand, an engineer may design an ergonomic office space with very little analytical skills. Does anyone know what ergonomics means? Can anyone share your views about ergonomics? Please unmute your mic and please say what ergonomics is before I share that answer. I'm sure there are a lot of people who know what ergonomics is.
Human factors in engineering.
I could hear
Human
that.
factors in engineering.
Human factor in engineering. What is your name, Buddha? What is your name?
Madhuman.
Madhuan.
Madhuman.
Madhuan.
Yeah.
Madhuan. There's a chat coming up. What is that? Doing things easily. Printan. Printen. Beautiful name.
Efficiency and comfort in the working environment.
Absolutely, yes. Who said that? Who said that? It has comfort in huh?
Firnas.
Huh?
Firnas.
I can't hear your names, man. Come on.
My name is Mohammed Firnas.
Nawaz.
Yeah.
Something like Nawaz. I heard something like Nawaz. Shall we say it that way? Yes. Designed for maximum comfort, efficiency, safety, ease of use, especially, yes. AM12 24534, comfort for human body. I don't know. I prefer to talk to you in names, not names, but not numbers. So again, you can change your identity now, name and not a number. I'm sure none of you have been into the Aragalpalli, yeah? Aragal efficiency working place. Navaratya, Mohammed Furnas. Ah, nice name. What Furnas?
Yeah.
Ah, first time I heard Mohammed Furnas. I don't know Nawaz Furnas. Ooh, first time I heard that name, Furnas. The name is very close to my Fernando. Okay, designed for maximum comfort, efficiency, safety, and ease of use, especially in the working place. Did it not tell you to put your name in front when you identify? I thought only some people in behind the bars used to do that. I'd like to call you by your first name or something, right? I don't want to be called a name, number. Come on. Hence, let us now look at engineering from these perspectives. Finally, we are human beings having analytical skills, creative skills, and meeting the social needs and engineering. So there are three categories of engineers, my dear friends. Though you thought there's only one category of engineers, I'm not talking electrical, mechanical, civil. In our behavior, inherently, we have different traits. In creativity, and some of us are good in both to a certain extent. Having said all this, my dear friends, being an engineer of A category, B category, or C category does not mean that any one of you is superior to the other. All of us have had the same kind of education. All of us had the same formation. That is your formative years. Now, all you have what you have finished up to now is formative years of engineering. So no one is superior. You know by yourself to which category of engine that you belong to. Some of you know that I am very good in my analysis. Enhance that. So we know that you are very good in creativity. Enhance that. Some of you are good in creativity as well as analysis. Enhance that. Your pursuit should be to make yourself an excellent engineer, not just an engineer. If you are good in analysis, further it, sharpen it. Of course, it's not bad for you to get a little bit of creative ideas as well from your friends. Ask them, consult them. Macam make kohonda karane macam? You remember those days? If you go to Colombo, you saw only boxes, right? Buildings are boxes. Central Bank building is a box. Ceylon Exchange Board is a box. The People's Bank headquarters is a box. Inland Revenue Department is a box. See, Lake House, it has some character, right? You see the President's House, it has some character. General Post Office, it has a character. On Chatham Road and on some of those places, you get there's some beautiful buildings. You have lost that train. And you're building boxes and boxes and boxes. But now, if you go to Colombo, which is the Krish Tower, it's something like a leaning tower. And a lot of beautiful towers are coming up. Give me a minute, I'll show you one particular, I don't have that picture, but let me draw that, right? Let me draw that. I'll just try to take the pen and draw it. In Beijing, you have a building like this. A building like this. Sorry. No, I think it was like this, so I can't remember. It was like this, or like this. I think it was like this, not like this, not like this, not like this. Sorry, not like this, like this. Standing C. That is the IBM building in Beijing. Huge one. And here we have also seen in, I think, Homagama, that new technological, whatever that institute, has some kind of a similar structure like this. And something like this, actually. Right? So now people are building very pleasing. So a lot of creativity has gone into buildings now. So I'll have to skip some of the slides because I need to get through many stuff. I leave these things. Okay, let me first rush through it. Sector A represents the intersection of purely analytical talents with the engineering domain. This may be used to represent engineering science and ability to model complex systems and predict their response to various inputs under various conditions. This segment of engineering has, of course, been the subject of intense development over the last half century and has benefited most directly from the availability of fast digital computers. There are a lot of civil engineers here. Don't think you are the greatest civil engineers here Sri Lanka has produced. You have heard about the tallest brick structure in the world. I was told it's Tupara. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a model of that in the ISL headquarters. Tupara. So when I was heading this research institute, there was a guy who was modeling on a finite element platform the stresses and strains of a brick building. I asked him, how long do you think it will take for you to analyze all the stresses and strains of each of the bricks in the Tupara? He scratched his head for a while and said, maybe it's about 4 hours. How long do you think Tupara took our engineers thousands of years ago to build? Maybe 40 years. So they knew engineering. Only thing, they took a lot of time. So these fast digital computers had turned the things around. Even when I was in the university, we had a huge computer called IBM 1130, where you had to give huge pack of cards, and they run the cards, run the program, and give us the results on it next day. And those are the computers we used when you're in the undergraduate days. Sector C, remember the creative guys. The intersection of our creative capacity with the engineering domain can be viewed as representing those sudden intuitive leaps, often responsible for revolutionary advances in technology called significant now, as well as those aspects of engineering not yet fully supported by engineering science. Maybe you have experienced this. Sometimes you all work in teams, right? So when you work in teams, you are wrecking your brain to find a solution. Mahasila, we say, heck, man, let's go and forget it. Let's do it tomorrow. Go home. One of you guys will be still thinking. And suddenly, maybe when you are taking a shower in the morning in your toilet, bathroom, you get the idea. Achang, where do you have? He got the solution. He's now impatient to dry himself up, get into the clothes, and he'll go more than anyone else. For one strange reason, he will be going the first to the office and waiting for the other fellows to come. So when the other fellows come, I found the solution. So when the fellows come, your teammates, this is how you're doing. You'll explain to them. Sorry, girls, I had to use Pacha because I'm a male, right? You will say something else. Girls, boys, anything. Guys, the girls are guys like that. So the boys or the teammates will ask, "Komal chak kare? Ande paba? Komal kara?" Probably he may not be even able to tell you how he did it. He had done it, but he can prove that he is correct. That is what you call significant novelty. So most of the engineering has developed through these creative skills of engineers as well. So we want the analytical, we want the people with a lot of creativity, and also we want the people with a little bit of both intersection of knowledge and need with both creative and analytical capability. They can be used to represent the engineering design in much real world problem solving. So some of you guys start off as people who are having a lot of analytical skills and perhaps migrate to B. Some of you guys may be having a lot of creative skills and migrate to B. I'm not saying B category engineers are the best. Sometimes they're the worst. So real, but these kind of take creative aspects and analytical aspects and solve problems. This sector includes activities ranging from developing innovative products and processes to creating an innovative bridge design to develop a new control process for petrochemical production. These days, I think today, they opened the Kalyani Bridge. I'm sure you know what Kalyani Bridge is. The Golden Kalyani Gate Kalyani Bridge. That's the latest addition to the Colombo landscape. I had the good fortune to go to Japan, so this project was also funded by Japanese. Japan is full of bridges because it's totally all covered by rivers and lagoons, and right round you have you take the Japanese map and see right round. So they cross sea and rivers and various things. There's, if you go to Tokyo, if you ever happen to go to Tokyo, I don't know if they have gone there. There's a river cruise, and in this river, if you go, they have got 38 or 39 bridges, each able to carry the same load, but one bridge is different to the other. They call it the Museum of Bridges. Beautiful bridges on this river cruise. So next time if you go to Japan, make sure that you go and visit this, take this river cruise. I don't know, John, but then yours is gone. What about the other sectors in the above figure? These are very important, so I'll pause for a while and explain this. Sector 1 here. So meet the people who are meeting the societal needs and who are having high analytical skills but doesn't have engineering knowledge. They're not engineers. Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3 are non-engineers. If I go to this, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3 are not engineers because these are engineers. They're not engineers. So these guys have a lot of analytical skills and they meet the societal needs. These people have a lot of creative skills and they still meet the societal needs. These people have a lot of a bit of analysis and creativity, and they also meet the societal needs. So let's look at these three sectors. The intersection of analytical skills with societal needs outside the bounds of scientific knowledge might include economists and philosophers. Lord Buddha was the greatest philosopher to be ever born in this world, as I believe it. He didn't go to university and study physics, biology, and chemistry. But did he answer the problems of the people, developing his mind? So philosophers do that. They analyze. Lord Buddha just didn't profess the Dharma just because overnight. Kalpagana. Divigavela. Right? So we miss sector B. Sector B are people who have a little bit of analysis and creative skills, who meet the needs of society. I just said that in case I didn't. Yeah. The intersection of knowledge and need with both creative and analytical capability can be used to represent engineering design and much real-world problem solving. This sector includes activities ranging from developing innovative products and processes to creating an innovative bridge design to developing a new control process for petrochemical production and so on and so forth. I hope you got it. If you still have a question, let's talk about it in the end. So sector 1, philosophers and economists. Sector 3, art. You go near the Vihar Mahadev Park on a weekend. Whole lot of artists on the road. Don't they add color to the city? Don't you buy some of those pictures to hang in your rooms? Just imagine your world without the artists. We need them. Sector 2 may be used to represent those societal needs outside the bounds of scientific knowledge and engineering that require both analytical and creative skills. These include people who are developing public policy. I'm going to talk about public policy in the end. Business administration and musicians. Musicians are creative people, my dear friends. Giovanni, Beethoven, Mozart, Tchaikovsky, they create music, but they have to blend the notes using a lot of analysis. Just being creative doesn't produce good music. Engineers cannot ignore the above very real issues in the society. So engineers are creative problem solvers. Care for a drink? Anybody? Care for a drink? Join me. I think the electrical engineers are the best. You all agree, right? Electrical engineers are the best. But they are the creative people. All of you are staying quiet. That means you all agree that electrical engineers are the best. All of you agree, no? Fantastic. 260 people say engineers, the electrical engineers are the best. Thank you very much. Someone says, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bag full, sir. Rasita, that cannot, no.
Engineers are the best.
Not electrical engineers. Okay, thank you. I thought you all were sleeping. That's why I said that. Now, whole lot of theory. Now, my dear friends, I can go on and on and on. I will touch upon some of the definitions because I'm supposed to talk to you about engineering profession. I had to go a little fast. Bear with me, they have only 30 minutes left. If you have any questions, I will still keep the Zoom on for 15 minutes. You can ask me questions. You can ask the ISL to give this set of lecture notes to you. I'll send it to the ISL. Get a copy, study this. Read this, it will help you a lot to answer the BPM, I suppose. Now the ABET stands for the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology of USA. You know, they boast is the largest engineering organization in the whole world, based in USA. They boast 365 days, 24 hours. They run programs to train people on engineering, education, and accreditation of engineering degrees. Absolutely true. Right around the globe, they run programs. And therefore, what they say has to be credible. They identify engineering as that profession in which knowledge of mathematical and natural sciences gained by study, experience, and practice. Now, a new dimension is coming in. And that's what you have been doing for the last couple of years, or 4 years, or 5 years. Is applied with judgment. The aspect of judgment is now coming in for engineering. To develop ways to utilize economically the materials and forces of nature for the benefit of mankind. This is one of the best definitions you can give for engineering. Imbibing this study this. And if you lack anything, fill it up, double it up, do some additional courses, firm it up. If you want to be an engineer that you can stand up in the society, I told you, people look up to you, stand up to their mission. Now, I'm supposed to say something about International Engineering Alliance. This is an exclusive club. I must say that it's an exclusive club. It's very difficult to get any organization to become a member of the International Engineering Alliance. I think ISL was tapping on the doors of the IEA from about 2007. If I'm not mistaken, we were admitted in 2009 as a provisional member of the Institute of International Engineering Alliance. Thereafter, please switch off. Mute your Loguta, mute karganda, Loguta, mute kara. International Engineering Alliance. It's a prestigious alliance. Many engineering institutions. And remember, the Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka, where you are an associate member, I'm a fellow, is a member of the IEA. It's a prestigious club. There are about 33 members in this whole thing. Out of all the 194 countries or 2,206 countries in the world. Most of the European countries are not members of the IEA. They're not being able to be. ISL is a full signatory of the Washington Accord. Very few countries, about 20 countries are full signatories of the Washington Accord. ISL is one. I was so happy when I was the president of the ISL. On 14th of June 2014, we were admitted as a full signatory of the Washington Accord. I was there in Wellington when that happened. We are a provisional signatory of the Sydney Accord. We are a full signatory of the International Professional Engineers Agreement. I'll talk about those things now. So these are symbols for IEA, International Alliance. It has 3 accords and 3 agreements. The Washington Accord, Sydney Accord, Dublin Accord, International Professional Engineers Agreement, International Engineering Technologies Agreement, and APEC stands for Asia Pacific Engineers Commission. So I say we are a full signatory of Washington Accord, provisional signatory of Sydney Accord, and a full member of International Professional Engineers Agreement. Several accrediting bodies for engineering qualifications have developed outcome-based criteria for evaluating programs. Now, most of you would have come out through this outcome-based education criteria when you did the degree. When we did, it was not based on the outcome-based. OBE, outcome-based education. You all are much better engineers than I am, because your engineering course is developed so that you can become a wholesome engineer. So you have no excuse to be shy. You have no excuse to be backward, because in the university days you are asked to make presentations. Your skills are brought out, writing skills, communication skills, your engineering skills. You have to demonstrate more than what we did in our campus days. Similarly, a number of engineering regulatory bodies like ISL have developed or are in the process of developing competency-based standards for registration. By now, I'm sure if you want to pass the professional review exam, professional review of the ISL, there are 5 competencies that you have to demonstrate that you have achieved. If not, you will not be admitted as to the class of corporate member. Remember that. 5 competencies are coming from here. copy. Look it up. Look it up. What are the 5 competencies? By your engineering experience report has to demonstrate these 5 competencies. You know that by now. Don't know that? Don't sit for the PR. Education and professional records for mutual recognition of qualification and registration have developed statements for graduate attributes. I'm going to talk about graduate attributes and professional competency profiles. I'm supposed to talk to you on engineering profession. So I'm going to talk about graduate attributes that are required of a professional engineer. If you don't have it, fill it up. Catch up with it from wherever you can get it. There are 3 engineering practitioners. The engineer, like you and I, have gone through a 4-year engineering degree. Engineer technologists, that's the 3 engineering technology degree holders, and the engineer technician. Now, is the best definition you can ever think of in engineering. It's coming from the Treasury Engineering Alliance. Engineering is an activity that is essential to meeting the needs of people, economic development, and the provision of services to society. You cannot get out of this need. Engineering involves the purposeful application of mathematical and natural sciences and a body of engineering knowledge. Where is this body of engineering knowledge? Let me talk about it later. Technology and techniques. You should know where this body of engineering knowledge. You know where your body is. Your body is now at your home. So there's a body of engineering knowledge somewhere. Look for it, quest for it, search for it. Engineering seeks to produce solutions whose effects are predicted to the greatest degree possible in often uncertain contexts. That's why we do designs. At least your families, your house, your parents have built a house, right? Those days they used only the bases. Basu nahi. Basu nahi ki intaratavai galgate. Basu will tell you the rebars. Is that the correct thing to do? Engineers design things without knowing what's going to happen. But they can design such a building the greatest degree of accuracy in often uncertain contexts. You don't know how the wind forces are going to be on the building. You don't know what the foundation is going to be, how the earth is going to behave, soil is going to behave under the weight of this building. You take measurements, you do investigations, then you design so that your building or structure will not fail. An electrical engineer will build a line, power line, but it will not fail. A telecommunications engineer will design a switch or a network of communication that people start grumbling that they can't get a call. The chemical engineers will build up a chemical process that will not leak harmful chemicals to the environment. That is the engineer's job. Engineer seeks to produce solutions whose effects are predicted to the greatest degree possible, because you are not building. So predict what's going to happen when you build it. The system in place, it will not go haywire. So the system will not become chaotic. Once it is in place, you can predict the outcome as engineers. That's your job. While bringing benefits, engineering activity has problems. There are potential adverse consequences. When you build a dam, you are displacing people. When you build that Kalyani bridge, that displaces about, I don't know how many thousands of people from the shanties. They would like to go out of this place. They were displaced, and they had to remove the atomic energy authority building at that famous Japanese-built automotive training center. 2 huge buildings are relocated. Adverse consequences. They managed. The engineers vanished. Engineering therefore must be carried out responsible because what your work is going to impinge on the people. You are doing work for the people at the same time you are disrupting their normal life while you're doing the work. Therefore, you have to undertake work in a responsible manner. Not only that, my dear friends, ethical. Russell DiZillo, my good friend, is going to talk to you on code of ethics. He has only 2 hours to deliver the lectures on code of ethics. It's a lifetime study, my dear friends, as for an engineer. What is Bible to the Christians? What is Dhammapada to the Buddhists? What is the Quran to the Islamists? And what is Bhagavad Gita or whatever for the Hindus? Code of ethics is our Bible. Code of ethics is your Quran. Code of ethics is your Dhammapada. Code of ethics by engineers is your Bhagavad Gita. Study that. Live ethically as engineers. We want you to get into the category of acclaimed engineers. The society, where the society look up to you as a professional engineer. Not for them to anna horek. Don't let anyone tell that to you. Use available resources efficiently. Be economic. Safeguard health and safety of others. Be environmentally sound and sustainable. And generally manage risks throughout the entire life cycle of a system. This is the last one that I put it in white. Is something that you don't do. You don't look at the life cycle of the project. You have no excuse. These are not my words. They're coming from the International Engineering Alliance. Study this. I know I'm going too fast. So this is the 3 categories of engineering practitioners. I'll only talk of the graduate engineers. Apply knowledge of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals, and engineering specialization, respectively to the solution of complex engineering problems. If you are not solving complex engineering problems, my dear friends, you are not an engineer, you are a technologist or a technician. Don't ever fall from your place of a graduate engineer to be a technologist or a technician. I'll show you some pictures. My dear friends, I'm so sorry. I have just about 15 minutes plus. I'll only talk of few things. I'm sharing with you 4 or 3 tables. This is called the range of problem solving. I beg of you, before you sit for the B paper, read this and understand at least the first column of each of the tables. They are talking of engineers. I want to get on to the graduate attributes, so I'll skip through this, but there's something that I want to really emphasize. Your depth of knowledge that you have right now, the problems that you are going to solve, you should have a depth of knowledge that you cannot solve problems, cannot be resolved without in-depth engineering knowledge at the level of WK. These are following the following tables. The keywords are which allows a fundamentals based first principles analytical approach. Fundamentals based first principles analytical approach. I know the present day engineering education has not allowed you to get all the fundamentals of engineering because of the system of education we have right now. I'm not criticizing that. But if you have not got the fundamentals right, you cannot solve problems right. Now, what? If you do not start with the first principles, you cannot solve engineering problems, my dear friends. If you are not analytical in your approach, you cannot solve problems. Take that into your heart and go through this first column today itself if you can get hold of this lecture. Before you forget, remember to go through the first column. This talk of the range of problems you're going to solve. You're solving already. You will identify yourself with these requirements. What is complex activity? It's defined here. I will not go into details. The range of resources, level of interactions, innovation required. They're all described here. Go through the first column. This for engineers, this for technology, this for technicians. Knowledge profile. Right? So these are knowledge profile that you are talking about, WK1, 2, 3, 4. So this is by now you should have had the knowledge. So review this and see whether you lack. You will pass the PR exam, no issue. But even then, just have a glance at this and find whether there's anything that is lacking in you. There's something lacking in you, don't worry. IESL has many CPD courses, continuing project development courses. Take some of those things. Sharpen your knowledge. You think that you are lacking somewhere. Use of modern tools is one of them. Okay, this is what I want to tell you. Graduate reports. This is your heart and soul of engineering profession. There are 12 of them. These attributes should already be in you, yourself. Each of you should be having these attributes, 12 of them. Apply knowledge of mathematics, natural science, engineering fundamentals, and engineering specialization as specified in WK1 to WK4 respectively to the solution of complex problems. Go back to WK1 and WK4 and find out what they are. Identify, formulate, research, literature, and analyze complex engineering problems. That's what you're supposed to do. You should be able to do that. Reaching substantiated conclusions. Your conclusions, you should be able to substantiate. When someone asks you, how did you get this? You should be able to explain to someone how you got it. You can't brush aside and say, I know how to do it. You will tell how to do it as well. Design solutions to complex engineering problems. Conduct investigations of complex problems. Create, select, and apply appropriate techniques. You can't be using all kinds of computer models. You can't be using all kinds of IT tools to solve problems. Select the best tool to meet the needs and the data available. Apply reasoning informed by contextual knowledge. You can't use all the solutions to all the problems. What you have solved in one case may be completely different for other. It may look similar. Look at the context in which you are working. With whom are you working? Whom are you catering for? Assess its impact on societal, health, safety, legal, cultural issues. Understand and evaluate the sustainability and impact of professional engineering work. Sustainability. Apply ethical principles. Function effectively as an individual, as a member or a leader in a diverse team. You have to work with teams. That's why in the campus days in your OBE, we teach you to develop teamwork. You're put in groups and you're asked to come out with solutions. Communicate effectively. If you're poor in communication, take a course in communication. You have to communicate with people where you're dealing with people. Demonstrate knowledge and understanding of engineering management. Recognize the need for and have the preparation and ability to engage in independent and lifelong learning. Lifelong learning. I'm still learning. I'm 66 years of age. Now, engineering council. You would would have heard about this. They talk of chartered engineering. So this is what you should be. So I'm not going to go into technicians, technologists, incorporate the technologists, chartered engineering. You are supposed to be characterized by your ability to develop appropriate solutions to engineering problems using new or existing technologies through innovation, creativity, and change. You have to change things. People are talking of disruptive technologies. You have to disrupt the way the things are going to introduce something new. Innovate and introduce something new. Otherwise, you can't achieve what you want to achieve with the best of your ability. They might develop and apply new technologies, promote advanced designs and design methods. See the responsibility that you're going to take over after you finish the PR and become a chartered engineer, corporate member of the ISL. Introduce new and more efficient production techniques. Things can't go on as business as usual. They're changing marketing and construction concept of pioneer new engineering services and management methods. Chartered engineers are variously engaged in technical and commercial leadership and possess effective interpersonal skills. I'll skip these things. That's a recipe for problem solving. I'm sure you can read and understand what I said there. Right? I'll skip. What do we need our engineers to be? Listen with an open mind and speak up when required. Always be in a talking mood, not a jabbering mood. Do not rush at words. Not speak sense. Don't speak nonsense. Everybody laugh at you. Write well, clearly and logical writing. Don't write anything that you want to write. Think before you write. In whatever you write, be absolutely accurate. Don't write things that you cannot substantiate. Good manners. You'll be very courteous. Otherwise, people think that you are still another person from the Stone Age. Dress well. Be smartly dressed to suit the occasion. Read well. I told all my engineers, 50% of your work is reading, my dear friends. 50% of work is field work. Reading doesn't mean only reading books. Listen to media, news channels, journals, technical reports. Don't let any technical report interest you. Go without being read. Work hard. Work hard. No recipe other than this to become a successful engineer. This is the recipe for you. Are you ready to face challenge? I want your mics unmuted. Are you ready to face
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
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 everybody?
Yes, sir.
Everybody.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes.
You said yes. And antimate again, yes.
Yes.
Sweet little voice. Aha.
Yes.
Are you ready now?
Vinod, yes.
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 He's the
Yes.
engineer.
No, no.
You want to face the challenge? Come on. Someone said no. This is the engineer. This is the engineer. This is the challenge you have, my dear friends, in front of you. This is the challenge you have in front of you. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. I'm telling you, make no mistake. But that's a way to face challenge. When you face the challenge, you think, if I can't, who can? If I cannot do this job, there's no one else who can do this job. You believe that you have to do the job. No turning back. You have to do the job, my dear friends. If you are not prepared, give up engineering, even if you have spent so much of time now. Get into the room. If you can't, who can? Who can? You have everything there to do the job. Do it. After winning, you have to be also humble to say, if I can, who can't? If I can do this job, any other engineer also can do the job. What do you have to do? You have to train them, my dear friends. You have to train them. You have to share your experience. This is where the body of engineering comes. The body of engineering has been developed through technical literature prepared by people like you. Don't, after you solve a difficult problem, write a technical paper, publish it in the ISL so that others will have access to your knowledge. This is how what we call the body of engineering knowledge, my dear friends. Not what you learned in the campus. Not what you learned in the campus. Finite element measure, strength of materials, surveying, anything, you name it. Right? Load flow studies, two-port networks, statistical analysis. That is only the base. Your body of technical engineering knowledge comes with your publications. I just have 4 more minutes. Look at these awful pictures. Who is responsible for these? Who is responsible for this? Electrical engineers. No one else. Same thing. Who is responsible for this? The municipality. Don't blame the engineer who built this about 150 years ago. They didn't go on. Why didn't the municipality engineers disinform? Take adequate precautions. Either restore this building or demolish this building. This is Dhaka. Fortunately, in Sri Lanka, we have not had so much of disasters, but increasingly we are getting quite a number of building collapses. The last one was in Kandy. Due to heavy rain, the building came down and burying a young family, a couple with a small child. Don't kill people by designing things that will designed to kill people. Looks funny, right? It's in China. Now, joke also in the newspapers. Where is this? Where is this? Where is this? I'm sure you recognize, right? Anybody from who can tell me where this has happened? We were at Dhaka me by TV. Our fellows are very nice, you know. What they would do like Sakla Peninsula, Sri Lanka. I'm proud of my country for this old age. If technologists and technicians try to do the job of engineers, this may happen. Don't allow your job to do a proper design be done by technologists, which means you should be doing not the technologist's work or the technician's work, you should be doing the engineer's work in design. Don't be happy doing the technician's work. Don't be happy doing the technologist's work. Improve the work day by day. Improve the work methodologies day by day. That's what you're supposed to do, not routine work, my dear friends. For routine work, technicians are there, technologists are there. Read those other columns and find out what they're supposed to do. Don't do what they're supposed to do. Get them to do what they're supposed to do. You do what you're supposed to do. I beg of you to read those first columns once again. But are we prepared to face challenge? You said yes. Can we confidently say that engineers in Sri Lanka will not let this kind of disasters happen. Can ISL assure that the chartered engineers, professional engineers, are in a position to avoid this kind of disasters? The answer is in no one else's hand but yours. I'm sorry, there is a section that I want to talk about the Engineering Council of Sri Lanka and public policy. I cannot do because the time has caught up with me. It's 9:12. So I want to leave some time for, so I'll just talk about public policy. Public policy is whatever a government chooses to do or not, or not do, other than actual laws of the land. So Engineering Council is law of the land. And you have to follow the Engineering Council guidelines. The purpose of the Council: maintenance of professional standards, conduct of engineering practitioners, registration of different categories of engineering practitioners. That's the ECSL. You have to become registered now. So this is the composition, and functions are given here. Read them. It's very simple for you to understand this. The council shall have the power to determine the terms and conditions of registration of engineering practitioners, maintain registration of engineers, engineering practitioners, prepare a code of professional conduct for engineering practitioners, determine the procedure for purpose of carrying out disciplinary inquiries. Now it's not going to be easy for you guys. People know there's a law. They'll take you to courts. So I will stop at this. Are you ready? You said yes. Look at this picture. With that, I stop. I leave you time to respond, ask me difficult questions, and if you don't agree with some of these things, you're most obliged to answer. So I'll stop sharing. I put everybody on the screen. If you want to ask me questions, you can even switch on your camera and ask me questions. I still have 238 people. Please email past papers. I don't have any past papers for this, my dear friend. And I don't like your names by aim, this, that, and the other. I don't know who's asked that question. Aim. If you want to be like the Galpalium ants, you keep your. So I don't know. Aim. Just give me 18 200. Please email past papers. I don't have. Please ask the ISL. Okay. Sorry. But one thing I can assure you, I mean, if you give me some sample answers, I'll give my response to you, good or bad. Yes, anybody wants to ask a question? I'm prepared to answer. Are there any CEB guys here? Anybody? Can you please put your hands up? So how can get the presentation? I think with this guy, I have, the ISL will give you the presentation, give you the recording. I think perhaps you can get it. I think YouTube. Someone says, thank you very much for comprehensive presentation. Can you get the syllabus? All that, please, my dear friends, you have to ask from the ISL. Okay. I prefer if you can ask me questions rather than putting it in the chat. I know that you are very thankful to you. Someone says Samantha. I don't know who this Samantha is. Thanks a lot for your valuable time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
In the syllabus, it says there's going to be part about ECSL recognition of registration of engineers.
I was supposed to do that. As I said, I ran out of time, and it's written very well in my presentation. Please read that. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. I will answer that. Okay? Because I told that I was really running out of time. I thought I did justice to create the situation for you to understand a little bit beyond the traditional understanding of engineering. When you did engineering, maybe you thought you are going to get a good job, drive a nice car, marry a beautiful girl or a boy, handsome boy, right? And yes, Kankanamge. Mr. Kankanamge, why don't you switch on your camera and speak?
Hello, sir.
You don't have a camera?
Sir, my camera is not working. That's the case.
Okay. No issue.
That's sir, I wanted to know, is there any kind of specific writing style for the B paper, or is it okay to write?
Actually, I had a presentation on how to write and how to make sense when you talk and write. That has not been scheduled. If you want, you can speak to Sanjeev and I'll be happy to do that lecture as well. How to write the B paper. In fact, I did that for the last batches. I can do that skill for you all if you ask me to do it and if you arrange another lecture with Sanjeev, right? You speak to Sanjeev. I think most of you maybe know Sanjeev.
Yes, sir. I'll make a request.
If necessary, you can ask him to ask them. It's called how to speak and write, how to make sense when you talk and write. How to make sense when you talk and write. I took a lot of examples from B paper and I was used to show where you have gone wrong. Okay. Anyone else? It's 9:20. If you're still willing, can you do it for us? I can do it. Who is this Samantha? I from CB.
Yes, I am National Water Supply and Drainage Board, sir.
You're working at Ratran office?
No, sir, I'm at Kadar, the Region Support Center.
Right. Yes, anybody from CB? I'd like to know.
Sir, I'm from CB.
Who is that?
Jalit.
Who is that? Maybe you are there's too much of noise. Okay. If there's no other questions, I can do this lecture on the writing and reading and writing and talking. That is you have to ask from someone. Sanjeev, sorry. Okay. Have a pleasant night. I know you all must be tired. Listen to me for the last 2.5 hours, 2 hours plus minutes, 2 minutes. It's difficult, you know. I know that. So what you see in my background is the Upper Kothari Hydro project, which I love to do. Next time, if I have time, I'll show that small video as well. 12-minute video on Upper Kothari. How I did it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
sir.
Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, sir.
Good night, sir. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good
I
night,
will-
sir. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, sir. Good night.